Billionaires get richer during COVID, £15,000 worth of fines issued to rule breakers, and a unique COVID-safe concert. This is your TLDR News Daily Briefing for Monday the 25th of January. In the first story of the briefing today, we discuss the huge amount of wealth acquired by the richest men on Earth during the course of the pandemic. It should come as no surprise that the richest among us have earned even more money than usual during the pandemic. After all, many of them are heads of tech firms, and as technology has helped us more than ever throughout the last year, it makes sense that the heads of these companies have seen their incomes increase. However, the scale of this increase in wealth may be more than most people can comprehend. The NGO Oxfam suggested that the 10 wealthiest men on Earth have seen their combined wealth increase by $540 billion. This is enough money to pay for everyone to get vaccinated on Earth, with enough left over to stop anyone from falling into poverty. Just to be clear here, all 10 billionaires would still have all the money they started 2020 with. Stopping everyone from falling into poverty and providing vaccines for everyone would only cost the amount of money they've earned in the last year. And if we expand that out to the earnings of all billionaires, not just the top 10, then between the 18th of March and the end of 2020, the total earnings of this group was $11.95 trillion. That's roughly similar to the amount that the G20 countries spent on the coronavirus pandemic in total. So that's exactly how much better billionaires could make the world. But what about if we look more closely at their businesses? How could they help their workers if they opted to spend their money on that instead? Well, if Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos decided to spend his pandemic money on his workers, then each Amazon employee would receive a whopping $105,000. It should probably be noted that Jeff Bezos gave $125 million of his personal wealth to help fight the coronavirus, though as Oxfam has shown, this is a drop in the ocean compared to what could be done if billionaires united together to help the world during this dreadful pandemic. Is it their responsibility though, or should they not be expected to contribute? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. For the second story today, we continue talking about the financial element of the pandemic. But instead of discussing people willingly spending money to help ease the pandemic, we discuss people who are being made to pay money because of their inability to stop spreading the virus. We're discussing coronavirus fines. In the UK, the police have been stepping up their response in reaction to COVID rule breakers in order to increase compliance. Earlier in the pandemic, police were instructed to try and reason with rule breakers instead of just issuing fines. However, as the situation got worse over the winter, police have now been instructed to issue more fines. While there would likely be a debate about how reasonable it is to fine people who are unintentionally breaking small coronavirus rules, it's hard to deny that fines are unfair for people who are intentionally breaking the most serious rules, such as those that prohibit large gatherings. For example, this weekend, a group of illegal ravers were caught gathering under a railway arch. Many of those involved tried to escape, but the police were still able to fine 78 of those in attendance, £200 each. In total, the police issued fines totalling £15,000. One of the officers involved, Inspector Steve Barnes, said, "We understand that young people are frustrated at not being able to enjoy themselves, and I do feel their pain. But we have to stick to the rules so that we can get back to some sort of normality sooner rather than later." I think it's fair to say that most of us share Inspector Barnes' view. In the last story today, we move to the US to discuss a COVID-compliant party, one that didn't end up with the police showing up. As shown in the second story, there's a real desire among many people to get back to normal and get back to live events and concerts. However, it seems as though doing so could be a little while away. After all, how do you go and see live music while respecting social distancing rules? Well, the band Flaming Lips seem to have figured it out. They hosted a concert in Oklahoma whereby 100 space bubbles were laid out. Up to 3 people could fit into each bubble, which features a water bottle, a handheld fan, and 2 signs. One indicating that someone needed to be escorted to the bathroom, and another saying that cold air was needed in the bubble. Not only was this a pretty different way to host a concert, but it ensures that any airborne particles are kept within the bubble. Arguably more importantly though, the lead singer was able to stage dive in his bubble on top of the other bubbles, which, let's face it, is far cooler than a normal stage dive. For those who think the news is too long, be sure to check out tomorrow's daily briefing. Read the newsletter by signing up at tldrnews.co.uk/daily. Listen to the briefing by searching for TLDR News in your podcast app, or watch the briefing over at youtube.com/TLDR Daily.